In this video, I share with you my overall verdict of the Waterpik Cordless Plus, along with what I consider to be the main pros and cons of this water flosser. Hey, it's John from Electricteeth here. We assist you in selecting the right dental care products and understanding common dental healthcare topics. So I'm going to jump straight in and give you my overall verdict on the Waterpik Cordless Plus. The Cordless Plus from Waterpik is satisfactory. It does the job it was designed to do. The lack of a battery status indicator is rather frustrating. You don't know when it needs charging or when a charge is complete. The nozzle rotation and charging connector have been implemented better on newer models. The Cordless Advanced is one example of a water flosser I would pick in preference to the WP450. Right, so let me now go through the main pros and cons of the WP450 Cordless Plus, starting with the pros. So the first pro has to be the fact that it's cordless, unlike a countertop water flosser that requires you actually plug it in for power to be supplied to it. These have a built-in battery and it gives you a little bit more freedom when it comes to cleaning in between and around your teeth. In fact, you can just move around a little bit more and you're not restricted by the length of the power cable or the hose that you have on a countertop unit. The second pro has to be the really nice grippy handle. The contoured shape of the flosser makes it really nice and easy to hold. You can get a really good grip around the handle. I haven't got the largest hands here, but on the back you've got this nice sort of rubber silicone grip area with raised elements that just make something nice and comfortable for the fingers to hold onto. It's nice and soft as well, and you can just get a really firm and secure grip on the handle, which makes it much easier to use. If you're able to hold the flosser much more comfortably in hand, it makes it much easier when you actually come to use it on a daily basis. So another pro has to be the number of tips that you get included in the box. It shows some of the variety that Waterpik offer with their water flossers. Now, not all of these tips are going to be ideally suited to every individual. Your personal circumstances are going to have some impact on which tip is right for you. Now, it's usually the classic jet tips that are most suited to most individuals, but there are some more specialist tips, such as the pickpocket tip, which are ideally suited to those that have ongoing periodontal disease and you have pockets along the gum line that need a jet tip to get in deeper below the gum and thoroughly clean along that gum line and flush out any of the bacteria and debris that may exist. Now, the benefit of having those different variety included in the box is that you can just get up and going straight away. The drawback is that you are going to be paying perhaps for tips that you may not actually use, but it does show the variety of tips are available. There's a wide range available from Waterpik for those different individual circumstances. And if you're sharing this cordless flosser with a number of different people in the family, it may be that you have individual needs, so those individual tips are ideally suited to different users. So then moving on to the cons, and the first con has to be the fact that it's actually quite a bulky unit. Now, being cordless, it does make it a little bit more friendly for travel, but there's often a perception that cordless water flossers are easy for travel. And they're not the biggest issue to take with you, but they are a little bit bigger than some people actually anticipate. By the very nature of them, they've got to be able to hold water. So if you're traveling for a short weekend's holiday or vacation, or you're away for work for a couple of days, if you're traveling quite light with maybe just a small holdall, this is actually going to take up quite a bit of space in your bag. So you may not actually want to take it with you. It's just something to bear in mind that one of the benefits is the fact that they are more portable, but because of the actual overall size, it's a little bit bulky to actually carry with you if you travel frequently. So another con has to be the lack of a battery status indicator. Most electronic products, including electric toothbrushes and cordless water flossers, have some form of LED on the front of the unit to indicate that the battery is either on charge, charging, or it's losing power, in need of a charge. On this Cordless Plus, you've got absolutely nothing to give you any indication as to how much battery power remains in the built-in battery. So the only time you know this is actually running low is when it physically stops and no longer powers because the battery has run out. And the same goes for when you're actually charging it. You connect up the power cable, but you can't say for sure that it's actually charging because there's no flashing status indicator light. You don't know when it's fully charged. You basically just have to leave this on charge overnight and assume that it's fully charged. You have to try and keep a rough idea in your head of when you last charged this, or just keep topping it up periodically to make sure that you're not in the position where you're using this and it runs out of power. On a modern appliance like this, it's really disappointing to not have some form of indicator. It's built into some of the most basic pieces of technology today, so it's a real shame in that regard. Another con has to be the exposed charging port on the bottom edge of the flosser here. Now, maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of this than it really needs to be, but bearing in mind this is going to be in and around water, there is the potential that water will seep into this charging port. Now, typically the angle at which you hold the flosser means that it's not going to be exposed to lots of water, and this particular model is not designed to be used in the shower. So the chances of water getting in there are relatively limited, but it's certainly not impossible given the nature of the product. Water tends to run down the front here, and it is slightly recessed in there, but I can see that water may get in there and may pose some issues. It would be nice to have some form of cover on that just to give that added bit of protection to this charging port and ensure some longevity in terms of the overall performance. Now, I haven't really seen others complaining of this being a failure point per se, but it's something to be aware of. Another con has to be the implementation of the rotating nozzle. Now, don't get me wrong, here you can see me rotating the nozzle very easily. There's much worse implementation on other cordless water flossers. However, in comparison to some other water flossers I've tested from Waterpik, this is much harder to actually use when in use. Because you grip the handle like this, you've got to find just the right angle to get your thumb or index finger up to this rotating part here, and it can be a little bit tricky when you're actually using it and trying to pay attention to where you're actually moving the water flosser around your mouth. There are other models like the Cordless Select or Cordless Advance where this has been implemented slightly differently. You've got a much larger dial at the top, which is a little bit easier for the fingers to get to and rotate the nozzle. So another con has to be the quality. Now, don't get me wrong, it's more than good enough, it's satisfactory, but there are small things on here that leave me a little bit concerned about the longevity and the overall construction here. Take this water tank, for example. There's actually a bit of play in here. It wobbles about. It's not really secure like some other water flossers that I've used. And on the bottom you have just this single little plastic clip that's actually securing it in place. Now, it hasn't broken on me, but I do fear that in time maybe that's a vulnerable part there. It feels a little bit cheap in places. The slider buttons here on the front, they're a little bit spongy. They don't give the same firm response as you may expect from a slider. And then up here on the very top of the unit, you've got the eject or release button for the nozzle. It's just a bit rough around the edges. It can catch your fingertip a little bit. It's not super sharp, but it's just not as well finished as some of the other models that Waterpik themselves offer. The penultimate con then, and there is no travel pouch included. So as I mentioned, one of the benefits of cordless water flossers is the fact that you can perhaps travel with this more easily, but you don't get any travel pouch included in the box with this, which is a real shame. You know, just a soft little pouch would have been perfect to slide this in along with a charger and a couple of nozzles if you wanted it, but no, you don't get that. So if you want to sort of protect this in transit, you're going to have to find your own form of travel pouch. So the final con then has to be the dated design. Now, again, don't get me wrong, it's perfectly functional and function is more important than design, but it does look a little bit dated. The silver, white and sort of baby blue colours on this particular model you see here, it just feels like it's 10 or 15 years old and could do with a little bit of a rework on the overall design. I think the other options such as the black coloured unit look a little bit smarter because they've got silver buttons, but newer models such as the Cordless Advance and Cordless Select just look a little bit more modern, a little bit more minimal, a bit more cleaner. This just feels a little bit dated in my personal opinion. So if you're really into style, then I don't think this one is really going to tick many boxes for you. So there we have it. That's my overall verdict and the pros and cons of the Waterpik Cordless Plus. I do hope you found this video useful. There's a full written review that accompanies this video linked in the description and the top right corner. If you did find this video useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up. For more videos like this, click subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching. Oh, if you want more tips and tricks on how to improve your oral health, watch this video here.